Okay, awesome. Okay, awesome. Again, it is such a pleasure to be here, and this is such an important topic. And it's been more recently. I've had a tremendous amount of information coming through about the eminence and the importance of this topic for humanity. And so I guess over the past few months, deep diving into preparation for how I can hold better space for those of you that are coming into this new realm. We have to go through a kind of re-education of several aspects of ourselves, mind, body, and soul, physics, science, in order to better understand the changes that are coming for humanity. So right now we are at the beginning of these changes. And so I kind of want to do an overview about what are the things that we need to kind of integrate deeply in order to be able to hold space for these big truths that are coming out. One of the things that I saw, let me actually, so are you seeing me change my
No, no,
slides?
no.
Because
We
I'm
can't see
not,
the slide change. No.
yeah, okay, let's see. Oh, here we go. I can do it here. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
So something first topic that I want to talk about is essentially talking about what contact is, um, and we kind of need to redirect our attention from the external to the internal. And the information that I'm going to share with you are things that are gonna be relevant and important for humanity after disclosure in a post-disclosure world, but also things that require a lot of internal cultivation and a rearrangement of our mind and the way that we see the world and the way that we see ourselves, especially because we are the center of the projections of the experiences that we're having. As was previously discussed, the nature of our reality, our perception of that has to change in order to better integrate massive new concepts of who and what we are. The concept of being interdimensional citizens and beings that exist in a world that are visited by other higher intelligence is not something that's new to our human race. This is something that we have been aware of since the beginning of time, and it's something that's encoded in our DNA. What we believe as contact as something external is actually an internal, it's an internal thing. And the sooner we understand this, the easier and the less fear humanity would be invited to experience as we go into the deeper understanding of these experiences. Now there's several things that we kind of need to understand about the nature of reality in order to truly begin to cultivate an understanding, a peaceful understanding, a harmonious understanding of contact. The disclosure of non-human biologics, which is as it stated in the congressional hearing recently, that they very clearly said that they did find non-human biologics, and they're going to find and disclose much more of this information. And I will talk about that, but the government has a very specific agenda as to how they're doing that and why they are doing it the way they are doing it, and it's something that I want to shed light on to prepare you to understand what are the implications of what that means for you directly. Advanced technology will cause a disruption of who and what we are. There are some things that we need to start understanding: physics, metaphysical model of this world, holographic nature of this world. We need to be able to understand that there are multiple dimensions that exist in our reality. There are also multiverses, and the travel in the way that we are navigating in these dimensional fields is through portal travel. We need to understand what is a portal, and essentially the connection between your physical body and that portal. Quantum non-locality, entanglement, zero-point energy, which is at the very core of understanding your own organic technology and the organic technology of co-creation of humanity. Psionics, humans' higher faculties. What does that? How do you develop that? What needs to be prepared in order for us to embody those higher faculties, and really the higher faculties being the apparatus utilized in order to communicate and engage with this higher consciousness. Understanding the holographic nature of matter is absolutely essential to be able to understand that danger in the way that it's being presented by the government as something that is, potentially dangerous to humanity is actually very much a psyops. It's a psychological manipulation of what is actually true. And if we understand the holographic nature of ourselves and of the world around us, it will very hopefully dispel that kind of fear and that the ignorance of how that actually functions. We also need to understand our multidimensional nature, understand that we exist in multiple dimensions and that we are very much a one consciousness. We are a human race that is a one, and we are also unified with other species, and other higher intelligence beings are also an extension of our own self in some way. So that unified understanding of who we are is what will help ground us in an understanding of how to navigate contact. We need to try to understand consciousness, or at least how consciousness emerges from us as humans. We need to understand the morphogenetic field, as it is the instruction manual of form, which is important to dispelling fears about other organisms, other potential biologics that look different than us, how they manifest their form, how we manifest our form, and the intelligent order and function of that form in creating harmonious communication with these beings. We also need to understand our dream state, because the majority of these contact experiences are happening in dream state. And really, this is something that has been known for many generations, that the cultivation of our dream state is really the ability to navigate and walk in these multiple dimensional timelines. We also need to understand that time is not linear. It's a spherical model. I'll go into that in a little bit, but this is going to help us kind of move away from this idea that things are finite in this universe, and that our existence is finite, and dispel the potential fear of elimination of ourselves through any potential harm or shift that is coming in the world. And we need to understand how we participate in a field of consciousness, and our contribution, our responsibility, and our engagement in that field of consciousness. What does that mean, and how do we engage with that? Another extremely important element is to understand your bioelectrical nature of this construct. And the understanding of your bioelectrical nature is really at the foundation of advanced technology, because technology, higher advanced technology, as I will speak to later on in this presentation, is very much based on organic generation of our bioelectrical system, both our physical bodies being a vessel, but also higher advanced technology also mimicking and utilizing that kind of advanced technology. We also need to understand organic homeostasis, how to create homeostasis in our natural systems, our connection with the earth, and our connection internally in our physical body. Because none of these higher faculty abilities and 0 point energy and advanced faculties can be cultivated without, this homeostasis, the mastery of the homeostasis and emotional. We do need to kind of connect back with nature in a way that really helps us understand natural order, because the connection to nature is embedded the mechanistic secrets of this universe, and how organisms interact with one another in the laws of the universe, and be able, in order to be able to transcend our limiting beliefs about duality, and that being part of this holographic nature. So there's a couple systems that we need to kind of begin to understand, and all of these things might seem very advanced and like entire fields of study, but in reality, all of these things are things that emerge in the stillness of our mind. A meditative practice and a deep reconnection to ourselves is where we find a deep, deep understanding of all of these things. And all these contactees that have had experiences in my support group that I've been working with over the years, again, over and over again, continue to talk about how they have understood these very complex truths of the world and physics and science and consciousness as a result of these kinds of contact experiences, because we are entering into a higher octave of existence, into other dimensions in which a lot of this awareness is fundamental. Um, so, in order for us to begin to work on this level, humans have to prepare and expand their field of perception, the range of perception. We are multidimensional beings. We are bioelectrical frequency organisms that we function on ranges of frequency, how we see and perceive light, how we move light through our body. And that language is a universal language that will help unify us across the universe multidimensionally in order to interact with higher civilizations and even lower civilizations, even lower forms of life forms, in order to really understand discernment. But our apparatus of vision is beyond what we are seeing with our eyes, and that's part of the first step of the learning curve that we have to understand in terms of disclosure. That in order to really understand what we are looking at, what we're seeing, how we're perceiving, we're beginning to tap into ranges of frequencies that are beyond just our human vision. And this is something that is occurring as a result of the shift for humanity right now. We are entering into a higher octave collectively, which is activating expanding our range of vision. And that's why disclosure is absolutely imminent and will happen uh, from the inside out, from the ground up. Humans are the ones that are being more aware of their interdimensionality. They're being aware of ETs and beings, and they're becoming aware of this interdimensional activity that is occurring in higher in dream state and also in the waking state. So as the veil lifts, we begin to understand that ET contact, is very much a frequency thing. We're beginning to understand that we are tapping into ranges of frequency beyond the human vision. And many contactees that have had contact talk about direct contact with crafts, advanced beings, understand that the emotional connection is really, really interesting in that moment. A lot of times negative emotions are removed out of the space or shifted in a way to come into a more harmonious, neutral state in contact with these higher beings. And of course, there are parasitic beings as well that humans are interacting with. But again, this is very much part of resonance laws of the universe. We seem to experience and attract experiences based on our vibrational frequency. And contact is very much an individual thing. That's why there's a deep connection between the spiritual aspect of contact as well as the consciousness element of contact. But as we learn to master our frequency, we are kind of directing the kind of experiences that we're having. So experiences occur when humans are in resonance. In my personal experience, as a result of meditating 4 months, maybe 9 hours a day, I began to, this was the first time that I had completely conscious experience. And I was downloaded and shown massive amounts of information. And this allowed me to really open up into an entire different paradigm than where I was before. So there was an existential crisis for a moment, for a couple of years, really, to integrate really what it meant that there really is intelligence and organisms outside of our construct that are highly, highly intelligent, highly, highly advanced, and that can help provide us with information based on our current evolutionary process. So, uh, you know, and from there, many, many other activities started to emerge once I was activated. The experience resulted in advanced psychic abilities, which allowed me to remote view, once again, recover my ability to remote view, recover my intuitive abilities, faculties, and navigate dream state in a very lucid manner. And also work with life force, how I'm directing life force through the body, how I'm interacting with other humans, and essentially learning how to heal our bodies and our minds. And this is something that is reported by so many contactees that they have the ability to they are activated in their psychic abilities in order to heal themselves and others. So this is a side effect of entering into a higher octave, into a higher dimensional plane, and it directly connects to our DNA and how our DNA is processing this information. So another element of that is that what we perceive as the beings, because as a result of that experience, I saw many, many different species, many species in many different experiences. But what I have come to understand is that the form in which they present themselves to us, it's not the form that is simply what is presented. There are many manifestations of that form beyond what is being presented, and that's something that we kind of need to understand. This is because the holographic nature of this universe. A lot of this advanced technology, biological technology, is a projection, and they do use memory from your subconscious mind in order to project the form of these beings. How do we construct the form of these beings? Like, let's say the grays, right? What we see as grays. Well, there is a collective overlay of information that we tap into, and the symbolisms that we have held on to ancestrally, the memories of contact that we've held on to ancestrally, are passed down through generations, and this is something that is in the memory of our DNA. We tend to pull from that. We are also in our DNA holding family connections to ET species. So what is in our DNA is a plethora of different species from which we are essentially hybridized. These memories begin to become activated, and this is projected into the experiences that we're having. And this is very different from military abductions, in which there is a lot of psychological manipulation and also the inducing of certain imagery that is artificial. And it's quite different from organic contact experiences, higher dimensional contact experiences. I would say true contact experiences that are not interfered with or manipulated. And the difference is that higher dimensional contact experiences, the beings tend to abide by laws of the universe. You can kind of discern the difference there. The majority of traumatic experiences that humans experience are really, uh, uh, military interfered kind of experiences. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But when we are encountering beings of other star systems, they're not physical in the way that we want to understand, and neither are we. And people might hear me say this, and I say, what do you mean? We have crash retrievals and we have beings. Yes, they're going to be organic beings, but they're just as material and probably less than we are. Okay, and so our physical body, even when we touch something, remember that it's just a rejection of those atoms, the resistance between those atoms that are actually creating the sensation that we are touching something, that we are experiencing matter, a material substance that is solid. And we really need to understand that, because what we're dealing with here are organisms that are multidimensional, just like we are. And that's important because it will help us transcend this illusion that we have of attaching to an idea of a form, what it needs to look like, how it needs to be. And majority of humanity, when these experiencers in interviews, when they are interviewed about their experiences, they say that they're intimidated by the level of advanced biological technology, both in their organisms, because it's clear that their physicality is very different from us. And it kind of points to kind of what's organically directing them biologically, right? They're not really designed to eat. They're not really designed to procreate. They're organisms that exist with different purposes, different physical manifestations. And so the experience with them is that we can communicate telepathically, and they also have some sort of power over us. They can remove emotions, put emotions, change the way we feel. They can heal our body. They can communicate telepathically with us. They can transmit massive amounts of information, and it's instantaneous. A lot of the fear that people experience is because they're encountering these unknown realms of consciousness, this engagement with phenomena psychic phenomena, which we're not familiar with. Unfortunately, we're not familiar with it because we have been severely separated from that very innate, powerful technology, organic technology that the human has always had within them, which is their psychic faculties, their abilities to heal themselves, to communicate telepathically, to remote view, to channel information. All of those things are innate, and they are all embedded in our organism, deeply in our DNA. It just requires us to access that information. Which is why a lot of contactees that do spend a lot of time in meditation, cultivating some of these things, do not experience such a severe trauma when they are encountering these beings. So when we begin to train our relationship with the unknown, this transition into this new world and this expanded vision will not be as difficult to integrate. So that's something that we need to understand for the future. But our vision that is expanding, our ability to perceive these seemingly outer worldly technology and beings and intelligence requires us to activate the higher faculties of our body. And it's key that we learn to develop the mechanisms of our brain, how we develop natural DMT in order to open the vision system to be able to navigate dream state in a very lucid manner. So all the ancient civilizations trained lucidity and dream state in order to navigate awareness of multidimensional travel. All the ancient star civilizations talked about how they were able to connect and to communicate with these star people, which allowed them to give them advanced understanding of nature, advanced understanding of the stars, of cosmology, astrology, healing, health, regeneration, energy systems of the body. And this internal reconnection, this internal apotheosis of a human, it's beginning to dissolve this kind of dormant state of hypnosis that we're in, and essentially learn how to truly create, how to truly co-create, rather than counter-creating. So as we are essentially expanding into these higher dimensions, we really begin to understand that the entire human race right now is going through an evolutionary process with the beginning of period 9, in which we are entering into an advanced frequency collectively. And what that means is that our DNA is expanding. When we expand the range of frequency in our vision through our sensory system, we have 5 main senses, but we also have hundreds of little micro senses in our body. Our entire organism is a sensory system. We are absorbing information from many dimensions simultaneously. We're just not aware of it. We don't understand that through our day, we're constantly moving in and out of dimensions. So this understanding is extremely important, because as we cultivate that awareness, we can kind of begin to understand, where we begin, where we end energetically, what we can master of that range. And the expansion of frequency collectively is helping, is not only the expansion of the senses, but if our senses are expanding, so is our DNA. So our DNA is activating, essentially. It is expanding in its range of processing information. And the more the human cultivates the conductivity in the body, the more they begin to activate the bioelectrical memory of this organism. And the transmutational power of the human, as it becomes more bioelectrical, it begins to discover that the human body is actually like a vessel. We function like a vessel. Ourselves, the organic technology of our body essentially turns into this craft of navigation that we are utilizing multidimensionally. And so why this is important, because the more we understand how we function and how we navigate, the more we're going to understand advanced technology without having to go through that curve of having to readjust our understanding of physics and science, because this is very much an organic technology that emerges from within us. And the technology that they are using is mimicking this natural order. So there's a difference between UFOs that are organic and the difference between UFOs that are human made. And we kind of want to differentiate this because, oh, excuse me, because one is going to sneeze. We want to differentiate this because right now in this information age, where we now have also AI introduced into this massive field of information, with multiple agendas running at the same time, people becoming very confused, and we feel that we don't know what is real anymore. We don't know what is true. We don't know what's the government and what are these real UFOs. But there is a distinction, and I would love to share it with you as an experiencer and as working in this field for a long time. Um, Technology that is truly advanced technology is advanced beyond our understanding. And I know this because I've been on multiple crafts myself. And I also interview and work with many of my experiencers in my group over the years that have, shared their experiences of this level of advanced technology. This technology overall is a technology that is organic. Okay, it is not at all just a cold piece of metal that is, simply like anti gravitational or some kind of technology. It is absolutely organic in nature. It is a conscious technology. It knows when you are coming on board, and when you step into the craft. There's an acknowledgement telepathically to you and to the craft simultaneously. These crafts are also multidimensional. They can navigate in many dimensions, and they also can change shape and form. They're also quite sentient. They have some level of consciousness, or some limited consciousness that engages with you somehow. It is also telepathic. It's telepathically navigated, and you can also telepathically communicate with the craft for navigation. For example, indicate where you want to be, and you are instantaneously taken to that place. In my experience, I was taken to the planet Maya in the Pleiadian constellation instantaneously. Right. And again, our model of time will change. We'll talk about that. But also, it is connected to a field of consciousness, because the navigation of this craft is also engaging with the place in which we are headed, and we move beyond time and space. It's also seems to be working through a morphogenetic field. The morphogenetic being simply a field of bioelectricity in which matter and form can change as it moves through this network of information. It's also genetically and or organically connected to the pilot. So whoever is driving that craft, it is genetically connected to it. There is an element of DNA in which DNA is merged with the pilot. And what I have seen is that DNA is taken from the person and sequenced into the technology, into this kind of technology. And the merging of that allows telepathic navigation. It allows all kinds of connections and the facilities of traveling. It also uses 0 point technology, but the 0 point being that it's very much a vortex, a centripetal system of energy production, and it travels interdimensionally like this. Another element is that it's not made up of metallic pieces like an actual craft with nuts and bolts. It's very much one piece and simultaneous pieces that are created seemingly simultaneously to fit within each other, also translucent substance that seems to be metallic, but it seems to be like more of a plasma system. And it's an atypical craft that is not designed to be necessarily aerodynamic, because it doesn't follow the laws of aerodynamic requirements. It's beyond that. Okay, so if you take into consideration this kind of technology and some of the things that we're seeing, as shown by the government, you can kind of identify in a way what is more organic and what is more, Earth, right? So man-made crafts are potentially using this anti-gravity. They just launched a new craft recently. That is testing by the military. The recent wars that have occurred are utilizing a lot of advanced technology that is implementing robotics, remote viewing, anti-gravity, and different kinds of propulsion and energy uses, but nothing that is as advanced as these other technology. It is also quite metallic, using substances that are designed to be aerodynamic. It's not a conscious technology. It's not a telepathic technology, aside from a merging of a artificial intelligence, which can seem like a telepathic communication, but in reality, it is still very primitive in comparison. And it's also perhaps non-man directed. It is, they're using robots or AIs, or it's remote, navigated. And there's a lot of robotic integration in some of this technology. And the shapes are typical, even if they are, triangular or these kinds of shapes. Most of this advanced craft, they don't use angles in their technology. Because it doesn't work in terms of the navigation following higher laws of physics. Higher laws of physics, we don't use like angles and corners. So that's one thing to mention. The reason why I want to mention this is because right now we are in the face of this government disclosure. And if you listen very closely to the agendas that have been expressed over the past few years, government seems to have a very specific agenda that is directed towards military, deployment of advanced technology, and their focus is security, supposedly. And the thing with that is that if they truly understand advanced civilizations, we don't really have anything to be afraid of. I mean, we've been in contact with these beings since the beginning of time. They are here on Earth. We are interacting with them. We are them, essentially. And the communication point is the human. So this is not something that we are needing to protect from or to fear. Most of this, you know, technology that we do need to be concerned with, essentially, is what is going to be disclosed by the government, proposed to be alien technology, but it will not be. This is reverse engineered. This is information that I don't even call it reverse engineer, because a lot of this technology has existed for a long time. It's just been suppressed and hidden, but it will be applied now in a way that is used for control, and unfortunately to gain power in very few circles. So this is something that we need to start to discern quickly, because as this conversation of ET is coming out, and with these new, whistleblowers that are coming out about this information, there will be a lot of confusion about whether you are safe or not in terms of ET contact. But in the higher laws of the universe, and I just want to mention, this is just a clip of the recent congressional hearing, where he speaks that they did find non-human biologics. So we are really entering into a new age in which this agenda of the other species is being pushed. But we need to stick to what is true right now, for us, and we can.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, Biologics came with some of these recoveries.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Did this ex-special agent just...
Okay. So so there's a couple things, and so as we begin to understand that there, of course, are other beings in this universe, and what that means exactly, there's one way that we can try to learn to discern the difference between higher dimensional intelligence and lower dimensional intelligence. Through our government, military history, many of these UFOs and real advanced technologies have been shown to be around nuclear weapons, to disengage nuclear weapons, to disengage a lot of these wars and bombs that have been let off on planet Earth, because these beings understand much higher natural laws of harmony, and they understand it because we are interconnected. We are so deeply interconnected with all these species that if we kill and if we eliminate and annihilate beings on this planet Earth, we are annihilating libraries of information, genetic information, in the pool of collective consciousness. So this is something that we need to understand a little better. But higher dimensional beings do not interfere in a way that is harmful for humanity, neither in abductions or in a way that is harming a human. Higher dimensional consciousness is through the user, through the person, through DNA, in order to recover memory of what they are, in order to heal the organism of the planet Earth. And there are certain laws of the universe that these higher dimensional beings follow. For example, the law of free will, which is very important for us to understand. The law of free will basically states that every human has the right to experience their own experience, to evolve at their own will when they are ready, how they are ready, in order to access the information they need for their personal evolution. And this is a law that higher dimensional beings follow and they respect. And there are hundreds and hundreds of stories that I can share of contactees that help us understand that in a very deep way. Oftentimes, experiencers that come to me that are extremely traumatized, after doing hypnotic regression, they begin to recover a deeper understanding of that experience, and the perception begins to change and evolve as they begin to expand their understanding. And this is very important for all humans to begin to access the subconscious mind to recover the true memory, because we don't realize how influenced we are, socially engineered, indoctrinated, influenced bioelectrically, biochemically, through technology, through media. Subconsciously, we are following asleep into an agenda of a belief that we are powerless, disconnected, ignorant, incapable of any kind of sovereignty or connection to higher wisdom. And all of this is deteriorating the human potential. there is another influx that we're experiencing right now that over the past couple weeks, I was shown that, the human race is splitting in two directions, one of an artificial intelligence transhumanist timeline and another of an organic timeline. And humanity will be put in situations where they're going to be uh, afraid that if they don't go in the direction of the artificial intelligence, they will die, they will suffer, they will get sick, they will be, incarcerated or tortured, or there will be all kinds of scare tactics that will make humanity believe that they do not have the power of healing, of empowerment, higher intelligence. And so this is something that has to be dispelled in the conversation of disclosure, rather than being distracted with the political agenda, the militaristic agenda. When we look at advanced civilizations, what advanced civilizations are teaching us are a few things that I would love to invite you to consider. First of all, beings of advanced civilizations have deeply integrated feminine and masculine aspects. This allows them to understand the dualistic nature within themselves and within the external, not necessarily separating themselves from the whole. And that's essential for unity consciousness, a more elevated way of seeing things. They also have a higher cultivation of higher faculties. They have mastery over emotions, self-regulating the nervous system. And from the regulation of the nervous system, large amount of gray matter or highly conductive cortex or highly conductive organisms are a result. Their anatomy and the way that they function is different from us, but what is not different is that we are bioelectrical. Okay, so this entire universe is functioning on certain collective bioelectrical laws, and the more conductive we become, we can move into higher dimensions. We also take on different forms of the platonic solids, which allow us to enter into higher dimensional spaces. We also, as a result of the mastery of emotions and mind, and we begin to practice instant manifestation of thought. Our human race is headed in the direction of an advanced civilization at this time. So these are things that we're going to have to learn: telepathic communication, remote viewing and bilocating, instant interdimensional navigation through thought, advanced understanding of DNA memory recall, self-healing and regeneration technology, and in order to enter, no longer entering into self-destructive or parasitic states of consciousness. Understanding the laws of the universe and free will, not interfering with other beings, respecting that. Take a severe accountability for creation. Creation is intentional, purely intentional. And it's not manipulative, it's not enhancing behavior. Essentially, this existence is driven by a natural order and collective harmony. That is what we have learned from advanced civilizations. The human race right now, it's maturing. It's based in separation. It's clinging to models of materialism as a reality. It's confused about the integration of identity and ego. It's embracing the infinite potential of human creation. And we need to learn how to take responsibility for our emotions as sort of collective experience. If we see wars in the world outside of us, right now we're moving to a higher octave in which all of the injustices, all the manipulations, the uneven exchanges of humanity is going to be painfully visible for humans to see and to understand. Because it needs to change. And the role of humanity is going to change. What I see in the future is, as a result of potentially a fake UFO event that I believe that the government will attempt a couple, and they've already attempted it with the drones a little bit. But I believe there will be a couple of these that are going to be coming, and it will create a disruption. The purpose of that is to create disruption, and to implement control systems, navigation control systems, airway control systems. But the bigger picture of that is that it will bring into conversation what we've been taught in school. So educational formats and systems will begin to dissolve. Science, the way we understand science, the way we understand physics, religious concepts, the way we perceive religion, the ideas of a God outside of us, higher power. What does that mean? What is the human if there is a higher power, if there are more intelligence races? So these are things that we are going to be experiencing little micro wars and changes between our societies, within our societies. The more we learn to not become polarized in any one of these social engineering agendas that are happening right now politically in the United States, for example, please understand this is a distraction to keep you away from what is extremely important right now, which is the cultivation of your higher faculties to be able to connect with this higher intelligence, and also to not be dependent on any kind of artificial form of enhancements, which is what will be provided as a solution to this jump in understanding of humanity. It is all in our DNA. Sorry, I'm going to speed up here. Essentially, we need to understand that time is spherical, and this is important to understanding the ET phenomena. Time is not linear, but we are existing simultaneously in a field, and our access to memories are very much encoded in our DNA, in our genetic history. Every ancient civilization on this planet, I just posted a couple of the examples of it, but there are hundreds and thousands of little ancient civilizations on this planet that have existed, that talk about how our DNA is storing the stories of our ancestors as we have merged with the stars. We are connected with the stars, and our interdimensional ancestry is encoded within our DNA. Essentially, we are the hybrids of these experiences. The morphogenetic field of consciousness is the instruction manual of form. So to understand that this human experience is just temporarily recovering the memories of what you are, to recover that memory is paramount through hypnotherapy, for example. Recover the memories of the lives that you've had in other, planetary systems. The children are being born with these memories already available to them. There are many waves of children that are talking about their past lives, their current lives, engaging with these advanced civilizations. And I guess one thing that that internal work will help us do is understand that DNA really functions like a biological and bioelectrical genetic enhancement for the whole human race. When one human recovers their memory of what they are, of their true whole self, embodying this 0 point without becoming identified or attached to any one of these things, we literally are creating a ripple effect in the entire collective human race. This is where the healing emerges, and this is the true disclosure that has to happen from the ground up, as opposed to any kind of military agenda that will be proposed externally. Because the beginning of this enhancement is essentially something that will completely transform humanity into the better. The genetic enhancements are occurring through the sun. We have a lot of solar activity that is occurring, but we, in our plasma DNA, we are holding upgrades, you can say, or the expansion of this bioelectrical network of memory that is available in the body. And that is where we hold the record of all of our ancestral connections to these different star systems. The human body functions like a portal. Every single one of our chakra systems is essentially a portal into different planetary systems, solar systems, and every dream, every night, we are navigating in through there. So those of you that are beginning to have experiences, the invitation is to not come into a deep fear. The more psychic you are, historically, it has been shown by activities of the military that there is more interest in people that have developed psychic abilities. As a child, being in the GATE program and being in many psionic testing experiments as a child, when I recovered those memories, I began to understand the value that the human has when they cultivate these higher faculties. And unfortunately, it is parasited on by the military. But they understand that the gateway to contact is through the human body. It's through the apparatus of the human consciousness. So I also just really quickly want to mention that the hybridization program is actually the creation of soul. And it really doesn't have much to do with the sustainability of any one race that exists out there. When the human creates a soul, that soul can never be destroyed, but it is deeply interconnected in this web of consciousness. And we, as the creator, have 100% potential to navigate and direct how that soul is evolving. We can help aid it through our own evolution because we work as one collective consciousness. So I'm just going to leave that there for now.
Right.
How am I doing on time? Am I
Well,
done?
I just think, can you wrap up soon?
Yes.
But it's so fascinating. Of course, this should be like a college course, but yeah, just could you wrap up the next few minutes and then you come on the panel after the next guest and we can really break it down.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah, so really to close, I think the message that I want to leave you with today is essentially that there is nothing to fear in the disclosure. I think that the majority of our information, the vast information of which I just did kind of a super fast overview of, I access this information by the connection to the higher aspects of myself, higher faculties. My invitation is that we don't wait for any kind of government disclosure in order to have the permission to adjust our belief system and to adjust our relationship with the unknown and higher technology and higher consciousness. We need to take that power back into the hands because what will be disclosed is essentially a lot of fear mongering and a lot of directing us towards a very specific system of control into an artificial transhumanist agenda. And that is what will be proposed. Since we don't know what is organic technology, we're going to look at this technology as something that will aid humanity. And yes, it will aid humanity in some ways, but we need to come back to natural order. And that is essentially what I would love to invite you to do.